to be, on our station, on our airwaves. He likes to be the Stillwater guy, and that's cool. But every once in a while, I like to get Tucker Barnard on because a I like talking football with Tucker, and b this time of year it's starting to get kind of critical. And Tucker joins us right now. Coach, congratulations! First of all, big win last night with the playoff picture over Midwest City, 31-10 to kick off homecoming weekend in Stillwater.
Yeah, thank you. That was a big win, a big night for us. Senior night out here. So we got a bunch of guys kind of that we're honoring there before the game, and several of those guys played big for us and led us to a big win over Midwest City. It's fun.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that win was pretty critical in that I think you're in really good stead now for a home playoff game, which is always nice as well.
Yeah, you bet. I think we're pretty well locked in now for second place in the district. Del City beat us a few weeks back, and it was our first district loss in several years now, and so guys have worked hard to try to recover from that, and I've played well really coming out since that loss, and there's a little bit left to be done, but I really think that it's kind of locked in for us now. The Midwest City, Lawton, and Putnam City North are all still kind of fighting for the last spot in the playoffs, but looks like we'll get to host and likely have Booker T. Washington coming to town.
Yeah, and obviously the Hornets are a very good football team. That's one of the things I wanted to get into, and we'll get into that in a minute. I want to stick with the Pioneers right now. You guys have weathered some tough times this year. I think for a while, looking for early on the right mix identity on the offensive side of the football. You've got a young man at quarterback. Everybody knows the name. I mean, it's kind of been a familiar name at quarterback in this state, and more recently with the Pioneers with Gunner and now Gage, his younger brother, playing quarterback. But you've got some talented skill guys around him, both at receiver. Maybe not as big. Certainly, you miss Quantrell a little bit. He was special at running back, but I kind of get the feel that your offense has found its identity maybe through the middle part of the season, and knows the offense knows who it is going to the playoffs. Am I somewght right on that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it really has been a real learning process for us. I mean, we lost 33 seniors off of last year's team, and those guys had, a bunch of those guys started playing as sophomores, and so we came in this year, and especially on offense, we had three returning starters on offense: Ty Smith, then at wide receiver, and then two offensive linemen, Jacoby Sanders and Tavion Morton, and so the rest of it were, it took us some time to figure out, who we were and what we were good at, and and we're still learning to some degree, but we're real proud of the guys that we have, and there's a lot of talent there, but you just recognize when you had that group of seniors that have come through and played so much football for you that everything was new to these guys, and we found ourselves we really needed to go back to the basics, and something that I wouldn't say that we really overlooked it, but we might have underestimated a little bit the effect of COVID and all the, we've kind of talked back now about how these guys lost this summer going into their sophomore year. We talked about how they've lost a bunch of JV games because of COVID. And they just haven't played as much football, as what a bunch of our previous classes had. So they're kind of learning on the fly, but they're doing a great job. And you mentioned Gage. I mean, he's turned into a really, really good quarterback. And, he came up, he came up as a tailback and a linebacker and, doing all that stuff all through youth football and QI and everything. And so he's learning how to be a pocket passer. He was 13 of 16 last night for 122 yards, and had several others that were brought back for some penalties and stuff. But turned into a great player.
Yeah, I keep telling his dad and his granddad, I'm just kind of ticked because I watched him coming up as a little bit of, like you said, defensive end linebacker, and And I'm like, man, maybe we're gonna finally have a Gundy play over there on defense and be a bad, bad mamma jamma. And no, he migrated back to the quarterback position. But one of the things about him is, um, Gunner was so cerebral and was such a student. And I think somewhere in the last several months or maybe the last half year, that light clicked on, and now every time I see Gage, he wants to talk X's and O's, and he's gone that cerebral route.
Yeah, that's for sure the truth. I mean, he's learning how to prepare the way a quarterback needs to prepare. But he's so competitive. I think that's maybe the biggest thing about Gage is just his competitiveness, and he wants to win so bad that there's probably not a lot that he wouldn't do to try to win the football game. So he's going to prepare himself, and he's made great decisions with football this year, and that was one of the things quite honestly that we worried about coming into the year. That Gunnar, Gundy, and then Caleb Allen, who's at UCO now as a quarterback. They just really didn't make mistakes with the football, and so when you're starting over with a new guy, you kind of worry about that. But Gage has done a great job in that area.
Yeah, and then on the other side of the ball, you've got a lot of different guys that have stood out on this defense. Obviously, I go back to the first game I saw this season, your win in Edmond against Santa Fe, and Gabe Brown, who is heading to Oklahoma State. What a great game he had, but he's had some injury issues, was out for a while. I think is coming back now at the right time. But your defense that defense has been pretty good all year.
Yeah, they really have. We went through a stretch, and we're maybe hopefully coming out of it a little bit now, but went through a stretch where we didn't have any of our starting linebackers. Gabe Brown and Chance Clements and Brady Osborne were all banged up, and the guys that came in, I mean, I've been real pleased with the way that worked. But Andre Long, Trey Gregory came in, Cameron Johnson came in and played really, really well. But it took them a minute. I mean, just adjusting to the speed and physicality of the game, and but now we're starting to get those guys back. We've hit a little spell with some sickness and things in our defensive backfield. But I think we're coming out of that now too, and those guys are playing really well back there. Eli Williams is doing a great job at corner. Julius Talley at safety, and JoJo Beal and Zach. I went blank, but anyway, they're doing a heck of a job. I didn't mean Zach. Garrett Reese is why I got confused there. But Garrett Reese, they've done a great job, and they're really coming into their own now.
Well, and that gives you kind of a look at Stillwater, and great to be the number 2 seed, and great to get a home game. But I know there is one team in 6A2. We all know that it's like they play on another planet. Talking about those Spartans from Bixby. But I said one of the exciting things to me about 6A2 and the upcoming playoffs is once you get past them, there is so much parity. I mean, you can line up about any other matchup with the way Sand Springs has played this year. You guys have been really good. Booker T. Washington, who you probably are going to play in that first round. Del City in your side of the district. Deer Creek has been good. Putnam City North has popped in there at times. Obviously, Choctaw's the other one over on the other side. But I think if you didn't have those dang Spartans in this thing, this would be a free-for-all.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of parity there, outside of them, and somebody's gonna have to step up and beat them. I mean, that's all there is to it. We've got to do our part, and we had a shot at them earlier in the season, and felt like we played pretty well for about a quarter and a half, and then wheels kind of fell off a little bit, and that's what they've been able to do to people. They've just been able to have more staying power a lot of times. They're certainly really explosive, and and can score a boatload of points. We gotta figure out a way to get that done. We got a lot of work before we get back there, but it looks like if we were fortunate enough to be there, that's probably a semifinal game now.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and I'm trying to get people excited about the upcoming high school playoffs. The other thing, if you're just looking at, from the recruiting aspect of this, you mentioned, or we talked about on your team, Gabe Brown. You've got some underclassmen that are definitely going to be recruited. Chance Clements is a guy that, I don't know if you're going to see Division One unless he wants to do that, but I know even in my household, or not my household, but my family, there's a coach in Tahlequah that loves him a lot, thinks he's really a smart heads up player. So there's some guys there, but then you look at Booker T. They've got a couple of guys, including a safety and wide receiver that's a Division One guy. Del City's got some of those defensive linemen. Oh my gosh, their defensive line is something to deal with. Of course, we talked about Bixby. Choctaw's got some kids. That Deshaun Brown kid is one of the better defensive players in the state. But if you look in 6A too, there's star quality in the playoffs coming up.
Yeah, there is. Week in and week out. You don't hardly ever play a game that there's not at least a Division One and oftentimes a couple on the other side. And when we get to playoffs, that's certainly going to be the case. There's a lot of great athletes out there, and I think Oklahoma is continuing to raise the level, the way that we play football here, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on the win last night. I know that was big, like you said, senior night, and then the ramifications of kind of putting you in the driver's seat and being a number 2 team and having a home playoff game, which is great for the town and great for the Pioneers. But Tucker, I appreciate it. Keep up the good work, and looking forward to the playoffs. I think this can be a lot of fun.
Yes, sir. I agree. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Tucker Barnard, the head coach, Stillwater Pioneers, and again, 31-10 last night over the Bombers from Midwest City. And